So the soul keeps recording all of it into its.
Yes.
So that's how the learning happens.
Yeah. Nice. So we have very intelligent people around today. So we are getting the right answers too. Yes. So learning for a child happens very early on. When does the child's learning is the most effective is at the time of conception, at the time of Garbhadana. So why is it the most important milestone for a child in its overall education? Is because the mother's aspiration, the mother's desire, the mother's clarity of bringing this soul into this world, the more closer it is to her desire, to her expectation, the prayers that she does, such a child will be born. So such a soul will be invited. So Garbha Dharani is a process which our forefathers have given, through which we become absolved of Pitra Runa. So Pitra Runa is a runa. Of all the runas, there are Deva Runa, Rishi Runa, Pitra Runa. So Runa is we have this baggage and we need to get absolved from it. So baggage of gratitude, or baggage where we have collected a lot of favors from them, favors from the Pitras, favors from the Devas, favors from the Rishis. So what are these favors? We need to mull upon it a little bit. What are the favors that we receive from the Devas? The Devas are the Adipatis of the Panchabhutas. So this Sharira is made up of Pancha Mahabhutas. And they have awarded us, granted us the completeness of this Sharira, the complete form of this Sharira without any doshas, right, in this Sharira. Therefore, we are grateful to the Devas. The Rishis, they have done their tapasya. Their tapofala is Vak. Their tapofala is Shri, which is abundance, and their tapofala is intelligence. Buddhi, Shri, and Vak. All these are their favors, and we have collected it, and therefore we are rini to them. And Pitras have, through their through the generations, they have passed on all their tapofalas, all their yagyas credits, all their punya credits to the next progeny. So all this sanchita Pitra Runa is there, as a baggage, and we need to get absolved of this Pitra Runa. So therefore, Garbha Dharana is a samskara. It is a prayerful mood in which we invite a soul into our family through the blessings of the Pitras, through the blessings of the Devas, through the blessings of all our Ishta Devatas. So the mother and the father enter into this very sacred process of Garbha Dharana. This is the most important aspect of education. So first of all, we must educate ourselves that this is a samskara, and then we need to conduct in such a way that it becomes a prayerful offering to the entire Pitras. So this is the mode with which the Garbhadharana has to be performed. And when it is a Prarthana Swarupa, then the Shishu that is born is much to our expectation. So then the next phase is that of Garbhavasta. So in the past, we have examples of the mother's prayers being answered. There is the example of Aditi, who got 12 Adityas through 1 year of Payovrata. She did Vrata, she did Vrata, Nema, Niyama. Everything is so important from our Puranas, from our history, Itihasa. There are so many evidences. I was talking about Aditi, begetting Adityas, 12 Adityas, 12 sparkling gems. How were they born? Aditi underwent, this prayerful mood she preserved for 1 year by doing Payovrata, wherein she accepted little quantities of milk every day, and the whole day she did her Anushtanas, the whole day. And so that she begets Adityas. She had the long list of qualities of the children that she will beget. And then the Adityas were granted to her. The Adityas were born. So like this, Jijabai we have in the recent history, we have Jijabai's story where she wanted a brave and a powerful soldier who will come, a Maratha who will come and defeat all the enemies. And such a child she begot through the Garbhadharana Samskara. So today also it is possible. It is just that lack of our own knowledge with all these systems prevents us. That is the limitation. So Garbhadharana, after the Garbhadharana Samskara, at the time of Garbhadharana, what happens is when we invite a soul, the soul comes with its own karmic conditions. Sanchita karma, which is accumulated karma of past lives of the soul. The mother's side samskaras, 5 generations of samskaras from the mother's side, it is said that the child carries with it. And the father's side samskaras, the father's side 14 generations of samskaras, the child carries with it. So all these samskaras come together at the time of birth. The Purva Janma's Sanchita karma comes, the samskaras come. Therefore, all is not lost. Our Purvajas, they have led such a pious, they have led such a dutiful and a responsible life. So their samskaras are there within us. It's just that we need to give the child the right environment so that those samskaras fructify. So Purva Janma Sanchita samskaras. What else is the impression on the child? Is the education on this child? Is the mother's eating habits, khana pina, and mother's bhavana. What is the feeling, the emotion with which she is carrying this child? Who is she meeting? What is her drishtikona in life? All these 5 things are the education become the education of the child in the Garbhawasta of the child. Therefore, it is said that the mother has to be kept in a happy state of mind. She needs to have sattvika vicharadharani. She needs to perform their sampradayas very nicely, sampradayas, rituals. She needs to have adhyatma chintana. She needs to purify her consciousness. She needs to be in a state of being which means well for the child. So when all these things coincide very nicely together, then the child's well-being is ensured. Then what about the father? Yeah, I told you 14 generations of impressions, samskaras from the father's side has a bearing on the child. So father has to ensure that the mother is kept in the most healthiest state of mind. So the third phase, most important phase of education is the janma, is at the time of birth. So during the Garbhavasta, the Garbhadana is the first samskara. During the Garbhavasta, there are a couple of samskaras that happen, like the Pumsavana, the Simantonayana. So these are the samskaras that have a bearing on the child. Therefore, those samskaras are to be performed at those times. Then at the time of Janma, the Jatakarana samskara. So Janma is the first meeting point of the soul with the material existence, with the external world. So therefore, how the child comes out is of utmost importance. Therefore, the Prasuti Graha has to have all the Shubha Sanketas for the welcoming of the child. It has to be nicely decorated. It has to have auspicious symbols, the photographs of the gods, Ishtadevatas. There has to be incense. There has to be fragrances which bring about auspiciousness, sandalwood or jasmine. So all these things have a bearing. There has to be sounds. So the child's pancha tanmatras are exposed, will get exposed. Shabda, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. So all these 5 need to get Shubha Anubhavas. Therefore, at the time of Janma, there is a very important samskara. It is a samskara called as Jatakarana. So therefore, the Karana is the first to be exposed, it seems. So the child's ears are fully developed. So the child can hear very nicely. So therefore, auspicious chants from the Bhagavad Gita, from the Vedas, from the Puranas have to be constantly going on. So, and the child has to be spoken to in the ear by the father of auspiciousness. Maybe the Ishtadevatas names, maybe Om Namah Shivaya, maybe Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So whatever is the family's practice, that must go into the ear of the child as its first samskara, Jatakarana samskara. And Shabda, Rupa, the form of the Lord must be shown to the eyes of the child. And Sparsha, the child needs to touch tulsi leaves or something auspicious. Rupa, form of the Lord. Yeah, Gandha, smell. So the child has to be the smell of the child has to have some auspiciousness going inside it. And taste. Yeah, so for taste, rasa. For taste, there is the mixture of honey and ghee kept in a silver spoon in unequal quantities. And while the prasuti is happening, and the chants of from the Vedas, Vedic texts, or from the Bhagavad Gita has to be performed by the father, and all the sound energy goes inside this concoction, inside this ghee and honey mixture, and then that has to be tasted. That has to be the first taste that the child gets on its tongue. Therefore, all the tanmatras, the shabda, sparsha, rupa, rasa, gandha, the jnanendriyas, which starts becoming sakriya from now onwards, has a deep impression, has a deep bearing at this. All these samskaras have a deep bearing on the child at this point in time. So, because this is the opening, the karmendriyas are the gateway to the world for the child. So, if the gateway itself is purified at this juncture, then the child's worldview, the child's way of seeing the world becomes all auspicious. So this anubhava has to become shubha anubhava. Why anubhavas? Because I told you this becomes the outlook towards life for the child. So if the child gets very beautiful and shubha anubhavas right at the beginning, then the rest of the life, the child, it will follow. So after the janma, how should the care of the child be? Yeah? In the first 2 years, the mother, because the child has just now come out of the womb, the child has heard so many things in the womb. Maybe prayers, maybe lullabies, maybe conversations. The mother has conversations with the child. So the mother's sparsha is the most relatable thing for the child. Therefore, the mother has to be with the child, and the mother has to feed him or her her breast milk. So it is said that it is amrita for the child. It develops immunity for the child, gives it strength, gives it power to think, makes up the whole personality. So therefore, mother's milk is of utmost importance. As long as possible, the mother has to feed the child her own milk. So what else is the child exposed to? Once the child is out, the child is not just exposed to his mother, but to people around him or her. So who are these people? They are the family members, they are the relatives who come and go. So whoever is in the house has a deep impact on the child. Therefore, we need to be extremely careful of the mentality of the people around us. It has to bring about shubha for the child. They have to mean well for the child. They have to be caring towards the child. They have to love the child. So such people need to be around the child. And the vyavahara has to be hita. Hita vyavahara has to. Hita is something that can be endured, something that is positive. Hita vyavahara. The chintana. What are the people thinking about around it? Will have a bearing on the child. That becomes the thought process of the child. Therefore, there have to be books at home. There has to be adhyatma chintana. There has to be thinking about the society, about the goodness of the society, about great personalities, discussions about great personalities, discussions about samvada, about Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavata kathas have to be discussed. And then Sampradaya Gites, Bhajan, Kirtane, all these auspicious symbols and sound vibrations have to enter the child. So when we have the child in such an environment, such a beautiful environment, then only the child can become more and more beautiful. So there have to be some things which are no-nos, yeah, which cannot happen. So for example, the child cannot be in no fear should be instilled in the child. So we cannot scold the child in this moment. The child becomes a bundle of joy. We call it a bundle of joy. So it becomes so lovable. Yeah, the Prakriti, Bhagwan has designed it in such a way that we can only shower love on this child. Therefore, Prakriti has designed it in such a way that it attracts our love and attention. So in this phase, the child has to have no fear. no scolding. Adults may make mistakes because of carelessness or because of their own convenience or because of ignorance. So, but we need to be extremely cautious that this has a deep bearing on the psyche of the child. On this, it becomes the samskara of the child. Anything and everything that the child is exposed to in its shishu avastha will become its samskara. Will become its samskara. Why are we saying that it will become its samskara? That is because at the time of Garbhadana, the soul has come and the chitta has come together. The chitta, I told you, has the samskaras from the mother's side, from the father's side, the child's own sanchita karma. It comes together and gets attached to the soul. It becomes a granthi, a knot. Granthi is a knot. It becomes the outermost covering of the soul. This chitta is still exposed. On top of it, the pancha jnanendriyas, the pancha karmendriyas, the mana, buddhi, ahankara is not yet developed. So the jnanendriyas are just exposed. But the chitta is, the jnanendriyas are exposed, but all the impressions, the jnanendriyas are like the two eyes. The eyes are not fully developed. The sense of smell, the sense of taste, not yet fully developed. The gut is not yet formed. So nothing is formed really. So the chitta is fully exposed. Any impression that falls on the chitta forms the samskara of the child. So as long as the jnanendriyas are not yet fully developed, the karmendriyas are not yet fully developed, then any impression that falls on the child goes on its chitta. And anything that falls on the chitta is called samskara. So this is the definition of samskara. Samskara is what? Samskara is any impression that falls on the chitta is called the samskara. So samskara can be bad, samskara can be good, samskara can be evil. Depends on the exposure of what we have exposed the child to. If we have exposed the child to a lot of bad stuff, to television, to media, then all that has become the samskara of the child. Therefore, there should be no media exposure, at least till the brain is completely developed. When is the brain completely developed? The first sign that the brain is completely developed is that the first tooth will fall. So when the first tooth falls, that is the sign that the brain is completely developed. Till then, let me give you a scientific explanation to this, why there should be no media exposure. So it is said that at the time of birth, all the neurons that are needed in the brain, neurons are the brain cells, are there. At the time of birth, the child is born with it. The neural pathways are not yet formed. Neural pathways are connections from the brain to the eye, from the brain to the angangas, from the brain to all the internal organs. That is not yet formed, and those neural pathways are getting formed. Neural pathways are so important because they define how the child will function, how the child will think, how the child will behave, how the child will speak. So very important sensory inputs, motor coordination, spatial reasoning, problem solving skills, nothing is developed in the child. All these neural pathways are forming and they are becoming stronger. So in the formative phases during the formative phases of the child's neural pathways, when they are forming, if there is media exposure, what is media? Media is fast moving images, right? So and the more the technology is advancing, the faster is its speed. So when there is speed, the brain has to process. When the brain has to process, it needs energy. So energy, which the baby is just drinking mother's milk and eating a little bit of food, after annaprashna, which happens at 6 months. So that is the samskara of when the first solid food goes inside the mouth. So the yagya is performed and the child is fed the first grains which are offered to Bhagavan, and such auspicious solid food is taken in during this samskara. So when the child is exposed to such fast moving images, the brain has to process and it needs energy, it demands energy. So all the energy that is produced in the child's body is meant for internal organ development, is meant for brain development, is meant for neural pathway development. But if we divert it to processing, to understanding what am I seeing, yeah, then all, if the energy is gone, then somewhere something breaks. Some development is incomplete. Neural pathways are forming every second, every microsecond of the child's life until the first tooth falls. So how important it is that we keep the child away from any kind of brain processing. Therefore, till the first tooth falls, no external education of the child should begin. No forced, write ABC, write 1, 2, 3, read this poem, start reading, start functioning, catch them young. Yeah. So all these are no-nos. So therefore, because we have moved all those things early on, there are signs that the child shows, yeah, that it is not able to take this on. Signs that the brain's neural pathways have cross connections. ADHD, hyperactivity. There are the autism spectrum disorder. So there are the whole host of things that the child in early childhood we are seeing all these maladies. So therefore, when sensory integration has to happen, when proprioception is happening, proprioception is the brain has to tell how the limbs have to move. Yeah, my right hand has to move first, then my left hand, the limb movement, the vestibular functioning, the auditory, the ear functioning, vestibular, the visual processing, the sensory adaptations, olfactory, the sense of smell, gustatory, the digestive organs, the tactile, fine motor, gross motor skill, all these things are not yet developed. So imagine if they remain underdeveloped. For life, the child is maimed, right? So we must, the complete no-no is media, exposure to media. So only by the year 6 does the child get some sustained attention, memory starts developing, abstract problem solving skills can start developing. So after the first tooth has fallen. So before that, we should completely avoid all these things. So the 3 things that are a must. So I say Uta, Nidre, Ata. So in Kannada, which means Uta is food, Nidre is sleep, and Ata is play. So the child, the newborn child has 2 things which are born along with it. One is sense of curiosity, jijnasa. Therefore, it wants to explore everything. The child puts something in its mouth because it wants to feel the 3D image of it, because its eyesight is not yet 3D. The 3-dimensional view is not yet developed. Therefore, it puts things in its mouth. It wants to explore. It goes here, it goes there. After it starts crawling, it wants to go everywhere and explore. This nature of jijnasa should be encouraged. The jijnasa should not be curtailed. Yeah, it is healthy for a child to explore things, understand, and learn on its own. Can we teach anything to a 1-year-old child? No. Everything that it learns, including complex language skill, it learns on its own, right? So how does it learn a language skill? First by hearing, shravana, then by ucharana, small words it starts speaking. Amma, appa, tata, pati, mami. So all these things it starts speaking. Yeah. So first hearing, then speaking, and then reading, and then writing. So this is the natural process for a child, child's language development. This is what we have adopted in early childhood. Any language must be taught in the same manner. First hearing, then the child has to listen to many stories and then narrate those stories, and then the child has to see those stories, read those stories, and then write those. Yeah. So this is the curriculum that we have set at Vidyakshetra too in the early language development processes. So what are jijnasa and antaprerana are the two aspects that the child has. It's an inborn thing. The Prakriti has made the child curious. The Prakriti has given it antaprerana. Therefore, it has the prerana to live, to survive. So though it cannot speak, it gets many different things done just by crying and by smiling. So the mother knows every move of the child, right? So the child wants it now. She tells the father, no, 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 it means this, it means that. Yeah. The mother knows. How does the mother know? Because she's so closely connected to the child. She understands the child, and therefore she provides for the child. So the child gets everything done so smartly, right? We can think. But then that is how Prakriti has made it. So Anta Prerana is that the child is self-motivated to learn so many different things. What does it learn? It learns language, it learns how to behave, it learns vyavahara from so many people around it. It learns the sampradayas of your family, goes to the God's room, it takes the bell, it starts ringing, it wants to participate in the puja process. So everything, it goes to the kitchen, it sees what the mother is doing. So whatever you are doing, the child wants to do. So Shishu Avastha is the phase of imitation. It's the phase of imitation. So whatever people around it are doing, the child will imitate. This is how it learns things, by imitation. So therefore, our behavior better be hita. Our words better be hita. Our our discussions, our samvadas should be meaningful, should be positive in nature. Because remember, the karmendriyas are developing, and everything that the child is absorbing is becoming its samskara. So we have to ensure that we are giving it positive samskaras. So we have to speak about the three things. One is the sleep, uta, ata, and nidde. So sleep, what is sleep? The child is mostly sleeping, right? So a newborn child, the architectural foundation, sleep is the architectural foundation. So it cannot be at adult convenience. It has to be, adults have to suit to the child's rhythms. When does the child sleep? When does the child wake up? So everything must be suited in accordance to this. We cannot have priority when the child is in Shishu Avastha. The priority cannot be social calendar. The priority has to be child. So the priority cannot be family obligation. The priority has to be child. So I know a Japanese friend told me this, that in Japan, if there is a small baby in the family, the whole society understands that they need to return back home at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, whatever is the time that they put the child to sleep. Sleep of the child is uncompromised. Everybody says, yes, you should leave because you have a child. So child cannot be in a function till midnight, right? So the cycle is disturbed. The brain needs sleep. At rest, repair happens. At rest, growth happens in a child. As long as it is in its growth phase, all the growth is happening in the sleep phase. All the cleansing is happening. Cleansing of toxins, flushing out of toxins, repair work, everything is happening during sleep time. Therefore, sleep is the architectural foundation, and therefore that cannot be compromised. So it starts by sleeping for 20 hours to 22 hours. From there, a 1-year-old child sleeps for about 15 hours to 16 hours. Then later, 2-year-old child sleeps for 12 to 15 hours. Yeah. Then a 2-year-old child, it keeps reducing. So therefore, we need to suit ourselves to the child's cycle. That otherwise, imagine if we as adults don't sleep for a day, or our sleep is disturbed, our 1 hour of sleep is disturbed. What happens? Our whole day we cannot function properly, right? So we are looking for opportunities where we can get that rest at the first instance. So it is so disturbing for us as adults. So when a child has to sleep for that much time, when so many important physiological, neurological functions are happening inside the child, how important it is to give it this priority. So otherwise, there will be a neurological crisis in the child. What is the neurological crisis? Accumulated loss of sleep in child shows up as a neurological crisis. It shows up as in terms of anxiety, fidgetiness. It's young children we can see. Attention span, they have very short attention spans. It keeps getting shorter and shorter. The more we have abused its sleep cycle, then the more it lacks attention. Yeah, it is expressed as, in long term, it expresses itself as ADHD, autism spectrum disorder, developmental delays, slow cognitive processing, emotional dysregulation. The child does not know how to regulate its emotions. Sensory and social deficiencies, does not know how to relate to another person. We are seeing this in very young children. Why I give it so much importance is because in the last 15 years, I have seen so many children. Yeah, people come to Vidyakshetra, they apply, very well-meaning parents, but children have such dysfunctional families. Children are let on their own. Children are not taken care of in the proper sense. Yeah, children have emotional dysregulation, cannot regulate their emotions, cannot sit still for a few minutes. So in 2016, I saw that 1 in 100 children had some deficiency. Yeah, but today it is 1 in 10. Today, last year we had about 1,000 applications. I've gone through every child. I've gone through 1,000 applications, and I've seen around 200 to 300 children. So there, 1 in 10 is the malady. Yeah, in children today, there is some deficiency, some defect. Why is it? Overexposure to media, exposure to unnecessary vibrations for the child. The child has to be not exposed to too many vibrations. Yeah. So then this affects their so therefore no digital stimuli. Yeah, no digital stimuli. Keep it interactive with the child. Interaction with human beings is the most organic way of bringing up a child. Then exposure to nature. Expose the child to nature. Pancha Mahabhutas. The child loves Pancha Mahabhutas. We've seen in our Shishuvatika, if the children are left out in the open, in Mother Nature, where there are trees, there is sand, there is mud, there is water, they're the most happiest. They create their own play. Yeah, imaginative play. Imaginative play is so important in early childhood. It develops the brain. It develops the neural pathways in the most beautiful manner. The left brain and the right brain connectivities happen. So imaginative play is the key. Ata, imaginative play, indoor imaginative play. Give it unstructured play situations. Give it some wooden blocks. Give it some cloth. Yeah. So we keep some cloth stacked up. We keep some wooden blocks. We keep some kitchen toys stacked up. So imaginative play. Sometimes the child becomes the mother, and it is feeding the children. It is cooking. It is dressed up as a queen. What have you. So they are so imaginative. Yeah? So we need to encourage this. Yeah, outdoor. They need to work with Pancha Mahabhutas. They need to get grounding experiences. They need to be in sand. They need to be in the soil. They need to get their hands dirty. Yeah, with water, with soil. Yeah, play in Mother Nature. The more they play in Mother Nature, the more Mother Nature helps them develop this groundedness. Yeah, the simplicity, sadgi, what we call. Yeah, so that becomes their nature. So they are not shy of dirtying their hands for life. Yeah, for life. Otherwise, if we grow them up in antiseptic environment, we have not exposed them to soil, to dirt. What happens? The child says, "Gee, I don't want this. It's dirty." Yeah. So we don't want to listen to all these things. Yeah. We want our children to become simple, to be one with nature. So this is the time when the child has to be with the Pancha Mahabhutas. Expose them to as much as possible. And Uta is food. Food has to be natural food, mother's milk as much as possible. When solids begin, then it has to be a complete nourishment. Ragi, siri, our mothers make, with so much of patience. We make baby food, right? Using ragi, using jola, using rice, using wheat. So all this food, from from our great mothers in the past, we have learned. So all this is such a rich food. Milk, cow's milk can also be supplemented with. So the food has to be nourishing. The food has to be healthy, has to be wholesome. Fruits can be introduced early on, and then a balanced diet has to be thought of. And this has to be fed to the child with great love and care. And why is love intermingled with every aspect of early childhood? Is because it is the best positive stimuli. Yeah, everybody is craving for love. Am I right? Yeah, everybody is craving for love, and that is the best positive stimuli. When we are loved, we are positive. When we are loved, we are happy. That's the truth. Yeah. So the child, if we want a positive child, we want to bring up a positive child, we have to love the child. Love and care are non-compromisables. So therefore, feed the child with love. Why? Because the mother's love is of utmost importance. In this foundational year of the child, the mother's love adds like the primary nourishment is the mother's love. Secondary is what the mother feeds. The primary is mother's love. Why? Therefore, it is said that in the Bhagavata, it is compared that the only thing that can be compared to the love of the Lord for his bhakta is the mother's love for the child. The only thing that exists in its pure form on this material plane is the mother's love. So therefore, that is the nourishing aspect for the child. When the mother loves the child and feeds it, the child instantly swallows whatever the mother feeds, right? It thinks that the mother is the best well-wisher. So the child is accepting whatever the mother is feeding, because it knows that this is my mother and she means well for me, she cares for me, she loves me. So the child is accepting until a point in time when it can think for itself. Yeah, I don't want this, amma make this, I can't eat this. All the no start later. But as a child, the child is accepting everything. So the relationship with food, who defines the relationship with food? Mother. So when we see in early childhood, we see that the child has some trauma with does not have a good relationship with food, has eating disorders. Yes, very, very early on, eating disorders are creeping in. So then we go back to the mother and check how the relationship of the child is with the mother. So if the mother has a beautiful relationship with the child, then it is some external reason. It is a temporary reason that the child is undergoing some kind of a trauma. Otherwise, the relationship with the food is defined by the mother. So therefore, mother has to feed the child with great love. If the child is not accepting something, we have to use every trick in the book. Yeah, yena kena prakarena means we use our creativity to feed the child. A running tap, a butterfly, some dance. The father acts like a clown. Yeah, so the child sits on the head, and then the mother is feeding the child. Whatever it takes to feed the child, that must be adopted, because nourishment is important. And when the child is throwing a tantrum, it means that it needs positive attention. So when we give the child positive attention, the negativity in the child decreases. So when we have this scene where a child is in a supermarket is throwing a tantrum, big tantrum. Why is that? Because the child knows that this is the only way I can get the attention of my parents. So we should not let it degenerate to that extent. Yeah. So child, when it lacks positive attention, it starts seeking negative attention. It becomes its nature. Yeah. Who has driven it to that extent? We have driven it. How? Because we don't have time, because we have something else as priority. Yeah. All these things become reasons. But ultimate truth is that we drive the child away from us. And when we drive the child away from us, the child seeks negative attention. So check. Yeah. Homework is, if you have a young child in Shishu Avastha, 0 to 6, then how am I dealing with the child? Are there some corrections, course corrections that I can make? How can I give more time to the child? How can I shower it with love? Can I organize my life such that when the child is sleeping, I do all my important work, and when the child is awake, I'm fully with the child? Yeah. Can I take a break from my work? Can I take a maternity break? Can I, swap my schedules with somebody else? All these things can be worked out, should be worked out. When, unfortunately for us, the families have got so nuclearized that we don't have a social setup today within the family. We don't have the grandmothers, we don't have the uncles, aunts, in whose care the child can be. But because of the absence of a whole large family, and it is only the mother and the father. So if the mother and the father are seen together by the child, then it's called a joint family. Yeah. So that's a joke. So at one time, the child is unable to see both the parents together because they're working in shifts and God knows what all. Yeah. So therefore, for the child's long-term secure sense of security comes from the foundational years. Sense of security is given by the parents. How? By being with the child. When the mother is away from the vision of the child starts being anxious, right? Oh, my mother. It starts looking for the mother. Then the mother runs, comes and comforts the child. I'm here. Yeah. So the more the mother is away, imagine the mother has gone to work, and imagine the state of mind of the child, so anxious. It cannot express itself. This anxiety is expressed later on in life, not right now. It keeps building. Sense of security. It builds. The presence of the mother is the secure sheath for the child. So the absence of the mother means lack of sense of security. There is some rupture there, and it expresses in many different ways. Socially, the child has emotional dysregulation, food disorders, all these things. Yeah. Creep in. So therefore, I'm keeping a watch on time. So therefore, it is important that we give the child unstructured play. Play is a very important and serious thing in early childhood, because every limb is developing, every organ is developing. We cannot put the child on a regulated exercise regime. Yeah, play is the way that the child exercises its body. Therefore, play is of utmost importance when the focus light is on Annamaya Kosha development. Therefore, play creatively. If you are the only person that the child has to play with the child, but the child has to play. What all can you play? Become creative. Yeah, parenting is a forgotten art. Parenting is about creativity. Yeah, it is about you being patient with the child and giving the child that love, attention and care. How? Creatively, because you have only 24 hours a day. You have so many responsibilities. How do you execute all of that along with this? So become creative, become a patient mother, become a patient father, and or an uncle, aunt. If there is a child in your family, go there, help those people, because anybody with a small child, they need help. Yeah. So if you are if you know that there is somebody in your family who has a small child, go help them. The child will needs an uncle, needs an aunt. Yeah. So therefore, play with the child, feed the child at the proper time, proper nourishment and with love. And the sleep is the architectural foundation of the child. Therefore, it cannot be compromised. If we remember these three things, then you have succeeded 90% of your parenting. Yeah, with just these three: eating, sleeping, and play in a regulated manner. If these three things are set for your child, you are a successful parent. The other things, the samskaras and all, are top up. Yeah, additional. So if we are able to do all this, then our child becomes a positive person, a nice human being, full of good qualities, moral values, somebody who will contribute positively in the society in his adulthood life. Otherwise, he will be a consumer. He will draw from the society. He will not be a contributor. For contributing, the inner self must be full, full of love, full of care in early childhood. When the child is full of this, the child is able to give. Otherwise, the child will only draw, will will grab attention, will take from the society, has so many woes himself. How can he contribute? So therefore, this is the most important phase. These are the two phases that are of the utmost importance. This is the Garbhavasta and the Shishu Avastha. I think I will stop here. If there are some questions, we'll take the questions. Yes, Mukesh.
Namaste, you have beautifully explained. I have a questions regarding Chitta. So it has developed during the child at the womb. When it comes out, so how can we solve that sanskara? It has already developed before. So during this process, what is the role of parents? Because now you told कि अभी तो बच्चे को है क्या eating करना है, playing करना है, like that. So sleeping is the more important. So that sanskara, how can we eradicate if bad sanskara comes, because it comes from the 14 पीढ़ी father के आया है और 5 पीढ़ी mother side से आया है. So then what is the अब वो बच्चा बाहर आ गया, then what is the role of the parents? इसको कैसे, how to eradicate? जी.
Good question, Mukesh ji. See, I told you that a newborn child still has the Pancha Karmendriyas are not yet fully developed. The Pancha Jnanendriyas are not yet developed. The Mana, Buddhi, Ahankara are also not developed. So therefore, there is still time to give it good samskaras. How does the child newborn till about 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years? The children are simply absorbing. They are imitating the parents. They are imitating the people around it. So if the people around the child are behaving nicely with each other, प्रेम से अगर व्यवहार कर रहे हैं, और अगर उनका चिंतन आध्यात्मिक चिंतन कर रहे हैं, या समाज की व्यवस्था में जो बदलाव लाना है उसका चिंतन कर रहे हैं, या रामायण, महाभारत, भागवत कथा को सुन रहे हैं, उसके ऊपर अमल कर रहे हैं, पूजा कर रहे हैं, अपने घर की पद्धतियों को संभाल के जा रहे हैं, तो ये सब संस्कार बनते हैं बच्चे के ऊपर. तो जैसे जैसे बच्चा बड़ा होता है, तो शिशु अवस्था में अगर हमने सब कुछ ठीक किया और सब उसके संस्कार बन गए, तो वो लाइफ के लिए वो प्रिजर्व हो गया, चित्त के ऊपर उसका प्रभाव आ गया. इसका मतलब ये है कि अभी तक उसके कर्मेंद्रिया, ज्ञानेंद्रिया, मन, बुद्धि, अहंकार डेवलप नहीं हुआ है. तो जैसे जैसे वो डेवलप होता है, तो वो इट बिकम्स अ स्ट्रॉन्ग लेयर ऑन टॉप ऑफ चित्ता, इम्पेनेट्रेबल लेयर. मतलब क्या है कि जब कोई इंप्रेशन आता है तो माइंड उसको प्रोसेस करता है, ये मुझे लेना है नहीं लेना है करके, मंदिर जाना है नहीं जाना है. तो व्हाट हैपेंस इज a teenager, teenage is the time when all the pancha karmendriyas, all the pancha jnanendriyas are fully developed. The mana is fully developed. The buddhi and ahankar is not fully developed. Okay, therefore teenager is the time when it's a time of conflict, because mana is sakriya, mana is activated. So everything passes through mana. I don't want this, I don't want that. So जब तक वो एज नहीं आया है, बच्चा हमारे साथ है. So at that, in this productive age, till the teenage, when the child is with us, the parents, whatever they give, become the samskara of the child. Okay, Anna?
And one more thing. If child grows after 10, and like for the parents, we are just listening and all these things. If we want to improve that, the chitta, uske liye, what is the role of that? What we do?
Age?
After 10 years, just crossing 10 years. Yeah, for parents also.
Yes, so ये बाल अवस्था की बात है. So in बाल अवस्था, the things are slightly different. So Acharya Chanakya has given us formula. लालयेत पंचवर्षाणि दशवर्षाणि ताडयेत प्राप्ते षोडशे वर्षे पुत्रम मित्रे समाचरेत. So दशवर्षाणि ताडयेत means it is the phase of disciplining the child. So disciplining is not by hitting the child or scolding the child. It is by giving the child proper rhythms at home, teaching the child how to be respectful with adults. So you cannot overnight change the child. अगर बच्चे को अब तक आपने जो दिया है उसी को कंटिन्यू करना पड़ेगा. सडनली ड्रास्टिकली चेंज नहीं कर सकते हैं. सो जो करना है सोच समझ के हर दिन करना पड़ेगा. So there is this phase also is a productive phase, balavastha, wherein the samskaras can be modified, can be changed. but it takes a lot of time and patience of the parents. So investment जैसे करते हैं वैसे हम withdraw कर पाएंगे. Whatever we invest in these formative years of the child, we can withdraw. We can expect that the child will follow in that path. So therefore, in the period of investment, we have to invest with our patience, love, attention and care. तो अगर इसके साथ हमने इन्वेस्ट किया है तो 10 वर्ष में भी वो संभव है. अगर नहीं किया है तो बात अलग है. शिल्पी.
Preeti ji, my question was regarding sleep. For 4 years and above, they generally resist the afternoon nap. So is it okay, or do we need to kind of force them to sleep?
Depends on the prakriti of the child. Nothing should be forced. If the child feels sleepy at night, you can put the child to sleep early on. So earlier in the evening.
Okay. So afternoon nap is not mandatory as such.
For a 4-year-old child, 12 to 14 hours of sleep is needed.
Okay.
So if the child is within that range, then the most important thing is in the morning, if it wakes up by itself and is feeling fresh, then that much sleep is sufficient for the child.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Hanuma Bhavani ji.
Namaste.
Yeah, namaste.
When we become a parent, even we will have the samskaras and all the things which are impressions. So when we become a parent, how to can those samskaras be corrected if we have some bad samskara?
Yeah, good question. Adults can correct their samskaras and pass on new samskaras to the child through their behavior, through their vyavahara, through their actions. So if I have been a very casual person in the past, how do I become a serious person? How do I develop bhakti? How do I develop shraddha? How do I become a voracious reader? All these things are possible. What do I want my child to learn? Those qualities I can adopt. Yeah, so we can change it for the child. We can change ourselves for the child's sake.
Like as you're saying, the mother side 5 generation samskaras will come and father side 14 generation samskaras will come. So these samskaras will affect automatically, but will it be possible to make with some tapasya or something, that will it be possible to create a great bring great soul?
Of course, the mother's prayers are very potent. The deepest prayers of mother, the deepest desires of the mother will attract the soul, and that such a soul is born in the womb.
It's like I mean, even the past generations are not that great. Then will it be possible? Still, will it be possible?
Still, it is possible. Yeah, Prahlada was born in the womb of Kayadu. Kayadu was married to the Asura Hiranyakashipu, and his whole progeny was, his whole ancestry were of Rakshasas, right? So yet Prahlada was born. So there is hope.
Thank you.
Yeah, one or two last questions. Kavita ji.
Namaste, Preethi ji. Thank you for such a beautiful, informative session. Morning feels very enriching that I attended this today. So my question, actually I have 2 questions. One, if you can please suggest any further reading on this subject, so as to, I have been following this topic for a long time, but to help others to spread this information to others, will it be possible to share any further reading? And also, if you will this session be uploaded on YouTube as a recording so that I can share it with others? Second question is, I am a new mother of a 1-year-old baby. She is doing okay so far. Her sleep schedules, eating, everything is okay. But I somehow feel I am not doing enough. I'm always feeling stressed. So do you have any tips on this?
Yes. So first of all, I think you need to de-stress yourself. You need to do some sadhana for yourself. The sadhana that we do is goes a long way in de-stressing ourselves. So whether it is some mantra japa or some anusthana that you can take up, you need to take that up. Yeah, mindful meditation, practicing mindfulness. There are many things. So our own sampradayas, rituals, sitting in front of God and just closing your eyes for 5 minutes will also help. Start from there. So when you are calm and collected, then you will be able to do the right things for your child and for yourself. So
Okay,
we will also upload the YouTube video, and if possible in the Swavikas group, I will share further reading material for Garbhawasta as well as Shishu-avastha. Those who are a part of the Adhyayan Yojana, you are already familiar with Indutai's Granthmala, in which there is Garbhawasta as well as Shishu-avastha in very detail.
Thank you, Preethi ji. Thank you.
Tejaswini and Vishalji. It is 7:15. We need to stop with one last question of the next question, Ria. After that, we will stop. Yes, Tejaswini and Vishalji.
Namaste. Thank you for the great session. So I do have a Shishu-avastha child in 1.3 years.
Can you speak a little louder?
Can you hear us, Akka?
Yeah.
Yeah. I do have a child in the Shishu-avastha phase. And I've heard in past sessions that we should not tell no to the child in the Shishu-avastha phase. But in situations like if the child is maybe biting, or we have not given the phone or any sort of media to the child, but let's say it gets around with other children and sees them doing, and the child asks, I want to do that. So in such situations, are we allowed to tell no?
Yeah, you have to, instead of telling no, you can tactfully remove the child from that situation. Yeah. Parenting is about tact, it's about creativity, as I always say. So you need to tactfully remove the child and divert its attention. A small child has very short span of attention. So the moment we divert the attention of the child from where it is fixated to something else which is more interesting, then the child soon forgets that and grabs his attention to the next thing. So we could make use of that and divert the attention of the child.
Okay, thank you.
Riya ji?
Yes, hi ma'am. So there was one point you mentioned that when the inner cup of the child is full, only then he can think about contributing to the society. So, so if I want a child who is of this mindset that he has to give back, he has to bring some good changes in the society, what are some things that I can start doing right now, or then later expose the child to, or some subtle things?
Yes. So if are you married, unmarried?
To be married.
To be married, yes. This is a very good question that you've asked. So and you have such a good thought that your child needs to be positively contributing. So enlist all those qualities that you want in child and take up an anusthana, a prarthana, or a vrata, which will help you fulfill that. Yeah, make the desire not just at a superficial level. When you take up anusthana and a vrata, the desire goes deeper and becomes an offering, right? And becomes an invitation for that soul to come and get attracted. So therefore, solidify your desire, go deeper by having a vrata or an anushtana, and get to know about Garbhadharana Samskara and do the Garbhadharana Samskara as per the rites, and then you will definitely be successful. Yeah, and then later on, it's not just restricted to Garbhadharana. Garbhadharana is 50% of the part. Later on, how we are as a mother and how we help the child become a good human being also is of importance.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I think we'll stop here. Thank you very much for your patience and attention. May all goodness be upon you. Shubhamastu. We will end with the prarthana. Om Sahanavavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. ಧನ್ಯವಾದ.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ.
ರಾಮ್ ರಾಮ್ ಅಕ್ಕ.
ರಾಮ್.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ.